You're listening to the Monday Night Community Show with Daniel on BRFM.
This is the Daniel Monday Night Community Show on demand through YouTube. Thank you very much for choosing to listen to us through this method. If you'd like to keep up to date with when I add new interviews, then subscribe to this channel.
We present The Negotiations of Reasden Castle by John Fryer. Read by Bunda Duszynska.
The wind blew harsh and strong across the battlements of Castle Reasden. The castle was situated upon the summit of Old Craggy Mountain, which looked down upon the valley of Gorgon's Way. Tall and strong, Castle Reasden had stood for almost a millennium. The original construction, a defensive barrier against the marauding bands that had once pillaged across the distant lands. The years passed slowly at Castle Reasden, and the wind blew hard. "There's an awful lot of sand in that hourglass," Lord Reasden commented one day. "I could remove some granules, my lord," replied Austin, the castle's faithful butler. "That would allow the hours to pass with greater speed." "Good thinking, Austin," said Lord Reasden. "That way I shall get more rest, and at the end of the day, when I am asleep, you can add more granules to the hourglass. Therefore, I shall get more time in bed." "I shall have the night staff attend to it, my lord," answered Austin. And so Lord Reasden got more sleep and less hours of toil than anyone else in the castle. "Austin," said Lord Reasden at another time. "My lord," replied Austin. "When I return from the hunt, I no longer wish to make my way through the grand dining room, where all the servants are getting changed. I do not wish to mingle with such individuals." "Of course, my lord," answered Austin. "I shall arrange for the eastern tower to be opened just for your own personal usage. When you ascend the staircase, the screaming of beaten servants will cause you no distress whatsoever. Their horrified calls of anguish will be almost impossible to hear over the whistling of the outside gale. Should any mistakenly make their way along your chosen steps, I shall have them shot for you, my lord." "Excellent, Austin," smiled Lord Reasden. "I knew I could count on you." Later, Lord Reasden once again called upon the services of his loyal manservant. "Austin." "Yes, my lord." "As you know, Lady Griffiths has consented to be my dearly betrothed." "My most sincere congratulations, my lord," repeated Austin for the 100th time that morning, as, due to the excitement of such an occasion, Lord Reasden had mentioned it once or twice before that day, and the previous day, and every day the previous month. "And Lady Griffiths will shortly be joining us, which means we will be requiring some more space." Austin considered this. "More space, my lord." "One has hopes of an heir, Austin, perhaps several. So my family quarters shall need to be expanded." "I see, my lord." Which was only half true, as Austin could not yet understand where his lordship was intending to go. "So, Austin," continued Lord Reasden, "we shall need more rooms, more space." "Which rooms, my lord?" asked Austin. Lord Reasden paused, but only for a moment before pressing on. "The servants' rooms, Austin." "But where are the servants to sleep then, my lord?" inquired the true and honest Austin. "The cattle sheds have been underused for numerous years. Let the servants have those." "An inspired idea, my lord," replied Austin. "I shall make the necessary arrangements." "And tell the servants that as Lady Griffiths is coming forth, they will now be expected to work harder, and then even harder, if they do not wish to be expelled from this castle, and have to survive on the cold, wind-swept plains that surround this castle for miles on all sides." Austin sighed deeply to himself. It shall be as you wish, my lord. So the changes, as directed by Lord Reasden, were brought about. The servants wailed and complained, but to no avail. Lord Reasden refused to listen to all that was said, or even that which was said under people's breaths. Lady Griffiths had finally arrived, and was soon delivered of a baby boy. Great preparation had been made in expectation of the magnificent day. The servants, who had worked hard to make the new quarters habitable, were surprised when Lord Reasden insisted on expanding his family's living quarters once again, out into the newly refurbished cattle sheds. Enthusiasm for all things at the castle remained high. When the family entered the yearly ritual of how many servants can be hurled from the battlements in a single hour, volunteers at the end of the day were still thick on the ground. At Easter, servants still put their names forward for the annual religious pageant, in which one fortunate member of the peasantry was honoured with a crown of rose stems and then nailed to the castle's drawbridge as an example to all. And then, at Christmas time, due to the lack of any infant to play the part of the young Messiah, Lady Reasden adamantly refused to allow her child to take part in such an event. Lord Reasden's pet spaniel was cast in the lead role. A bad-tempered beast at the best of times, which this clearly wasn't. The canine star refused to remain within the crib, and young Mary was forced to hold the Son of God firmly within her grasp, while, during the dramatic conclusion, the saviour of all humanity snarled and growled, first at the shepherds, then the wise men, and finally at the Archangel Gabriel. The tableau at the end of the performance of the baby Jesus hanging and howling from the angel's left wing, while all the time God's messenger uttered under his breath, "Get off, you stupid mutt," was an image that was not forgotten for some months. In truth, it was decided that as far as next year's presentation was concerned, all would give the inspiration for the faithful a wide berth. This was considered by all to be for the best. A dark, windy shadow fell across Reasden Castle as times got harder and harder. Spring fell upon the highest points of Reasden Castle. The sun grew strong in the early morning light, and the blue sky promising a bright day and warmer times to come for all. Lord Reasden looked out from the battlements, casting his eyes over the flowing fields of heather, shrubs and grass that swayed gently from side to side in the breeze. Lord Reasden turned to his faithful friend and servant. "Austin," he said, and swallowed, trying to maintain the air of dignity and authority that had characterized his family's noble lineage. "My lord," replied Austin, his air of neutrality perfected over the many years of obedient servitude. "How many," stammered Lord Reasden, fear of the expected answer clearly audible within his voice, "servants are still employed within this castle's walls?" Austin's poise remained static, no movement even within the ever-present gusts. "Due to Lady Reasden's necessary economies, only myself now remains within your lordship's service, I am afraid." "Ah," replied Lord Reasden. "Well, never mind. I have here a list of tasks for you to perform, as well as your regular duties." "I see," said Austin quietly. "Make him work harder," added Lady Reasden, now joining them on the battlements. "And if he doesn't—" This came from young Gallowin Reasden, now heir to Reasden Castle, and showing the early stages of growing into a man very much like his father. Gallowin accompanied his mother out onto the stone walkway. "Tell him he'll be dismissed like all the others." Young Master Gallowin finished off with a bitter cackle of a laugh. Austin paused for a moment. He had waited many years, and he wanted to choose his words with the utmost care. And who will do the work of this castle then? You, young Master Gallowin? Lady Reasden, maybe. Even you, Lord Reasden. Who will then make the beds in the morning? Keep the castle spotless? Prepare your meals? Clean out the drains? Do you even know how to do such things? Are any of you even aware that such things are done? If you wish to dismiss me, that of course is your choice. You need only say the word, and I shall depart. But if I stay, there must be some changes here at Reasden Castle.
Changes?
Spluttered young Gallowin.
The impertinence of the man! Have him flogged at once!
You have no servants left to perform such a task, young Master Gallowin. Perhaps I could flog myself, remarked Austin with a glint in his eye. Lord Reasden shifted his weight from one side of his well-fed physique to the other.
That won't be necessary, Austin. What is it that you require?
Austin allowed the wind to blow through the silence for a moment before continuing. My quarters are inadequate, but that is not all. One would prefer more space.
And you shall have it, proclaimed Lord Reasden. Now, if we may return to business.
Austin, however, cut him short. Next, the food here at the castle of late has not been of the standard one would expect of just such an establishment. This must be attended to as a matter of some urgency.
What urgency?
Spouted up young Master Gallowin. The urgency that I will depart if the matter is not rectified immediately.
It shall be done, added Lord Reasden. Now there are other duties to be performed.
Indeed there are, my lord, replied the butler. There is the issue of income.
The castle is making plenty of money. In fact, we've had the best takings in years,
said Lady Reasden, pride showing upon her beaming face.
Since we cut away all that dead wood, and not before time.
My ladyship, continued Austin, that dead wood, as you put it, were the people that kept Castle Reasden viable. A recruitment plan will have to be initiated forthwith.
This underling is dictating terms,
shouted young Master Gallowin, turning red with indignation.
Be quiet,
hissed his father, realization starting to dawn upon him.
What else?
My wage doubled immediately, so that I may live on it, said Austin, his face the picture of neutrality.
Throw him from the battlements,
screamed Lady Reasden.
Hang him from the neck,
called out Gallowin.
You fools,
cried out Lord Reasden. Don't you see? When the numbers were many, we dictated terms. Now that their numbers are low, they, Austin, now calls the shots. Austin turned to face the family that had reigned over himself and so many others for years, the reversal in their positions only now beginning to dawn upon those that had until recently held all of the cards. You see, young Master Gallowin, when we servants were many, our power was little. But when our numbers are few, and the need for our services is great, opportunity is created. Austin paused while his words were understood by the current and future lords of Reasden Castle, and they saw more clearly their relationship with those that had served them. So, continued Austin, as for dictating terms, let the negotiations begin.
The Negotiations of Reasden Castle was read by Banda Dushinska and written and directed by John Fryer. The Negotiations of Reasden Castle is an audio production for Political Art.